Hi everyone. Today we're going to be learning about large numbers. Large numbers can be very confusing, so we're going to focus today on a few things. We're going to be focusing on reading large numbers, writing large numbers, and understanding large numbers. Okay? For example, here's a large number. Okay? You can see there's several numbers and there's a few commas in there. We're going to talk about what those commas mean. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to know how we say this number, what is the value of every one of these numbers within that number, and how do we write that number. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin with how do we say it. First off, when you say the number, the best way to understand how to say the number is to understand that there's a pattern within numbers. So let me show you today what I'm talking about. Okay, this is a place value chart. Okay, so let's go ahead and have everyone go ahead and pause this video, and I want you to copy down this place value chart right here in your on your practice pages. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, after you have this completely copied, we have three things to do. We have to say numbers, we have to know what the value of a certain number is within that number, and then we're going to write it down on the place value chart. Okay, as you can see, I've already written that first number that was on our first board down on this chart. Okay, you can see it's broken into three separate categories. Actually four in this case, but the numbers are only into three separate categories. There's the ones period, which contains these three numbers. There's the thousands period, which contains these three numbers. There's a millions period, which contains these three numbers. And then we go on to billions, and then beyond that into trillions. We're going to be focusing today on these three areas mostly, the ones, the thousands, and the millions, okay? Within each of these periods, we call them the period because that's what they're called when we're dealing with numbers, you're going to notice there's a pattern. There's a ones column, a tens column, and a hundreds column. There's a ones column, a tens column, and a hundreds column. And then there's a ones column, a tens column, and a hundreds column within each of the three periods. Okay, so we all know what this number is. If it were by itself, we could say 298 because we know that number. You apply the same principle when the number gets larger. Okay, so when we're over here, we would say 675,298. Okay, so really you read the number in the exact same way, but right where these dark lines are, that is where you put the name of the period that the number is in. Okay, so let's try that with this whole number. Okay, so we're starting over here. We know it's in the tens column, so we say 34 million, because that's the end of the period right there, 675,298. Okay, that's the name of that number. Say that with me. Out loud. 34,675,298. That is how you say that number. Now, what is the value of the 7? So when we look at one particular number, this one in particular, okay, we're looking at that one number and we're saying to ourselves, where is that located within that large number? If you look, you'll see it's in the tens period, so we know that that 7 is actually worth 70, okay? But it's also in the thousands period, so we know it's worth 70,000. In this particular number, the 7 is worth 70,000, okay? I'm going to go ahead and write another number up here, and I want you to be able to say it with me, tell me what the value of the 7 is, and then we're going to write it. We're going to learn to write it without putting it on the chart. Okay, but let me first practice with the chart. Go ahead and write this number in. Okay, write that number in your chart. And the first thing that we have to do is say it. Now remember, we break it into which period it is. This is in the millions period. This is in the hundreds area, so we say 647,528,931. Okay, say that with me again. 647,528,931. Now, what is the value of the 7 in this particular number? Okay. Now we know it happens to be in the ones period, so we know it's actually worth 7. 7 what? It's in the one section, but what period is it in? It is in the millions period. So we know that this 7 is worth 7 million. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna write a third number, and I want you to go ahead and do this one on your own. I want you to say it on your own. I want you to tell me what the 7 is worth, and then we'll look at it together. Okay. Very large number. Now I'd like you to say it out loud. Practice it and see if you can get it right. And then tell me, what do you think that 7 right there is worth? What is the value of the 7? Okay. We'll go ahead and practice this together to see if you are right. Okay, when we say it 5, oh, it's in that billions period. 5,634,937,642. Okay, I hope that you said that correctly. If not, go ahead and practice a few more times. Okay, what is the value of 7? Let's go ahead and take a look at that number. Okay, where is it located in the number? Okay, we know it's in the ones column, but it's also in the thousands period. So that means it is worth 7,000. Very good. That 7 is worth 7,000. Okay. Now we have to figure out how to write these numbers without the place value chart. Okay. So when we do that, what we do in numbers, because we don't always write every number on a big chart like this, what we do is we write them and we put commas where the words should be, where the names of the periods should be. So let's take a look at the very first number that we wrote. 34,675,298. Let's write that without putting put it on a chart. So we'd say 34 million, that's where a comma goes. 675,298. Now you're going to notice that wherever a comma is located, that is where the period ends, where I say a word. So I say 34 million, that's where I got that, 675,298. So those commas actually stand for the name of the period. So whenever you get to a comma in a number, you should be saying the word of the period that number falls in. Let's try it with this one. We're going to say 647 million, that's right where that million ends, 528,931. So it's really like reading 3 sets of numbers, but right where the comma is, that's what tells you where it falls, if it's in the ones, the thousands, the millions, the billions, or so on. Okay? Let's go ahead and I'm going to write this number down here, and I want you to go ahead and read it as I write it. What are you going to say there? What are you going to say there? What are you going to say there? Okay. I hope that you read this number. 5,634,937,642, because that's how we read that number. Okay, we're going to get a lot of practice with actually writing large numbers, saying large numbers, and putting the commas in and knowing how to write them. Okay, finding the value of them as well. Okay, here is your practice tonight. So go ahead and pause this video, write this in your practice sheet. And that's right, you'll notice there's a blank spot here, leave it blank. There's a blank spot here, leave it blank. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say a number. I want you to say the number, write the number right here in the blank spot. Then I want you to say the number out loud. Tell me what the value of 3 in this number is. And, of course, you've written it already. Okay, these are the 3 steps that you're going to do. I will say it. You're going to write it, say it out loud, and tell me what the value of 3 is. Okay? Ready? 624,932. 624,932. If you need that repeated, go back and rewind the video and listen again. Okay, for question 2, you're going to write it, say it, and tell me what the value of 3 is. Okay, you can pause this video at any time. Okay, the number for question 2 will be 32,684,912. 32,684,912. Go ahead and write that number down. Say it and tell me what is the value of 3 in that number. That is your homework tonight. I will see you in class tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye-bye.